Hi and welcome to today's video. Today I'm looking at putting in a wildflower meadow or area in the garden just towards the back. As you can see, there's kind of just grass growing here at the minute. There probably will be a fair bit in this video, so I might break it into two sections, so it might be done over a couple of weeks, but we'll have a look at that and see what the finished product and length and all that is at the end of it. So there's not much planted down here at the back at all at the minute. I have a shrub here, just it's a buxus pyramid shaped one. So it's been cut that way for years. It was out the front and I've just transplanted it at the back. I wasn't doing too well, there's not much light out the front. So we'll see to do a bit better here anyway. Rather than throwing it out, I'd rather use it. So kind of from this fence post here, kind of over to this section here, I'm going to cover, and then just a patch along the back wall. I had a bit of soil that I dumped there, so I'm going to use a bit of that, and then just around the shed. Please ignore the fact that the shed needs to be treated and painted, but anyway. So yeah, I'm going to put in the mix I'm going to use for my wildflower mix is a perennial and annual mix. Now generally people tend to go for an annual mix for a really bright, vibrant wildflower meadow, but again I want to go for a perennial and annual mix because perennial generally tends to be a better source of nectar and pollen for pollinators. So I want to have some perennial stuff in there. I suppose the one drawback with the perennials is they don't tend to be as colourful as the annuals, why people tend to go for annual mixes. But the reason, if you go for annual, you have to, a good bit more work involved. You have to reseed every year. Although you will have some self-seeding going on, you'll have mostly to reseed. So again, you know, I have some wildflower in the garden already, and some of you will be very, very familiar with. So you can see I have my dandelions coming up. I have daisies, obviously they're just starting to come up. I know there's plenty of clover over here, haven't started to flower yet, but again, these are the ones that naturally come up and ones that are naturally able to compete with grass, because you'll see them coming up and they do quite well for themselves. But it's a lot of the other native ones that don't necessarily get a chance because they don't have the ability to compete with the grass, which is why, as I'll probably explain along the way, a lot of the boxes that you buy your wildflower seeds in will have kind of a shake and rake on them. You know, this sounds very simple, very nice and very achievable, but again, if you don't prepare the site properly, you're not going to get much of a showing, because a lot of the wildflowers that you put in just won't be able to compete with the likes of grass. It's too vigorous and generally wins out. So again, I'm going to cut this grass down quite short, going with the lawnmower, and then I'll go at it with the clippers. And then I'm going to turn the sod, and then I'm going to cover it with compost, and then I'm going to sow my seed on top of that. So again, it's a bit of work, but again, hopefully that kind of work, in terms of that heavyish work, will only need to be done once, and then you can do the appropriate steps each year, which does involve a little bit of work, but again, nothing like you'd have to do initially. So I'll show you when I have the grass cut down as short as I can get it, and then we'll go from there then. So here we are. I've gone in fairly hard with the lawnmower on this and cut it in a small few bits with the clippers then as well, just to get any of those bigger tufts down. I didn't want to get it right down to the nub, but you can see I give it a good scrape with the rake as well, so there is soil starting to show there. Now you might be tempted to just throw compost over that, but realistically the grass will be no time going up through that. No matter how deep you put it, well, really, you know, within reason. So again, I'm just going to turn the sod. It's not going to be very pretty or anything like that. I just be rough and ready. Just turn the sod because, you know, you're not looking for necessarily a nice neat finish with turning the sod, because it's going to be covered with compost anyway. So just wanted to make sure that most of the growth was cut back. And I may get a bit of resprouting of grass, but then again, with your meadows, there will always be a bit of grass growing up with the wildflowers anyway. That's a natural process. So again, I'm not too concerned if some of the grass does come up again. But that's I suppose step one really. So we'll revisit it shortly. So that's just the start of it there. So again, there's one sod turned over in the soil. I just break them into little sections like that, very manageable. So again, you're just taking it, turning it over. There's the soil and placing it down. And there's a bit of dead grass there, whatever. But again, and just do it section by section, and it just makes it more manageable. I'm going to leave a little path here just around the shrub, and a little access path through the meadow as well. It just makes it easier for weeding, watering and all that kind of stuff, rather than trying to reach across stuff or stepping on the soil and compacting it, which you don't want to do. So just leave a little access path. When the meadow is in full flow, it won't even be noticeable really. So again, that's just, I'm going to continue that process. Still a lot of it to go. So again, that's the idea. So here we have it now. I've one half of the wildflower bed dug, or turned, the sod turned, and not dug as such. I have marked out the other one here now. I haven't quite got to it yet, but again, the sod is all turned. I've stamped it down, and I'm going to put spread out this compost onto over the sod, and leave it to dry, because really you should be putting your seed into dry compost. When ideally you do it on a dry day when there's very little wind. Obviously when you're scattering your seed, you just want to keep it in the area you want it. Today's a little bit windy, but again, that'll help to dry out the compost. It's not too moist anyway, but there's a bit of moisture in it. It's just because you need to firm the seed in, so to roll it, or maybe put a plank of wood over it and step it in, and if the soil is wet, well, it's just going to stick to the roller or anything like that, so you'll end up losing chunks of seed from your soil, or from your bed. So again, I'm just going to spread this compost out over the surface of it. I'm going to put a good thick layer of it on, to be honest with you. And hopefully, as I said, there probably will be a bit of grass coming up in it, but again, I've left a little path here, so I will have access in terms of, I wanted to lean too far across the bed and step on it, so if I need to do a small bit of weeding, I can. But again, I'll spread out the compost here and show you the finished bed. For the purpose of this video as well, I think I'm just going to leave it at the bed prep, and then the following week we look at actually the sowing of the seed and the maintenance of the bed then in terms of going forward. Just rather, it's probably too much all in one video to cover both. So I'll spread this out and we'll have a look back at the bed then. So there you have it. So in terms of bed preparation, that's kind of it. So what I said, as I've done, I've cut the grass really short, turned over the sod, stepped that down, and then put a fresh layer of compost over this. So I'm going to let that dry for a couple of hours before I put seed on it. But as I said, I'll show you the seed in a separate video, just because there's probably a bit in that, and I'll have to get this bed done in the meantime as well. So again, that'll keep me going on this nice warm day, keep me sweating. So again, it's looking good now, happy with that. So it's probably a good 6 to 7 centimeters of compost on top of that there as well. So again, that'll give the seedlings a good medium to bed into as well. So again, we'll leave it at that, and it'll be nice having a little path through there as well. I think it'll be a little feature in itself. Right, sure, we'll check back in the next video on getting the seed down. Okay, thanks very much.